Hiya, I'm Jason in Jason's Jungle. Now today I'm going to be wandering on the second plot I've got, which is the new territories, and showing you what's been going on in here. The plot next to the jungle was, not really used very well. The person who had it was actually out of the country for a couple of years. So it was covered with weeds, it went to rack and ruin, there was junk all over the place. So almost instantly I put my name down for it. Figured, what the hell, if it's going to get weeds, it's going to come from my garden. Needed a bit of work, not quite as bad as the jungle, but a lot of things to do on it, and it's become the new territories, the expansion from the jungle into a larger grown area. Along here you can see that I've got nice sunny fence, and I've got 3 different grapevines that are growing quite well. This is all this year's growth. They were basically just sticks last year because I pruned back quite heavily, and now looking absolutely glorious in the sunlight, in the red foliage. Next to them, in this bed here, this is a blueberry, and I have a blueberry in the next bed, but don't make the mistake I did. This one is a blue crop. That's a high bush blueberry. Now if we move over here, this is a pink lemonade. That's a rabbit eye blueberry. They don't cross-pollinate, so they won't get as much fruit as they would have if I had 2 of the same type. Now down here, if we look, we can see that we have, this is the lingonberry. There's some fruit on there already. It's just in this year, and it's growing quite nicely. That's underneath the pink lemonade, so hopefully that will produce some good crops next year. Now underneath the blue crop I have you can probably see cranberry. Now it's putting out lots of runners, and hopefully those will take, and it'll just cover the underneath of this bed, and we'll get understory just covered to help keep the weeds down, that it'll produce crop. If we look over here underneath the grapevines, I have another variety of leek. So this is a leek that is, it's known also as great flowered garlic or great headed garlic, and Allium polyanthum. In France they call it sort of leek of the vineyard because it grows in the veins, and all of these started off, last year I had about 5 plants started. They grew, they produced so many bulblets that I've underplanted all these veins with it, and now, well, I'll basically just be pulling up what I need and replanting the little ones, and hopefully that'll give a considerable supply of leeks. These 2 wheelbarrows were here when I came. Now in here I have chuffa. Chuffa is also known as the tiger nut. It tastes almost almondy, with a little bit of coconutty, and it's used to make horchata, which is a Spanish drink, or it can be eaten like a sweet. I remember when I was a kid in the 70s eating these just as sweets. Although a lot of people say that stopped when rationing stopped. It didn't, because it was still available when I was a kid, and I'm not that old. I might look it, but I'm not. So these are now ready to come up because they've died back. It's a type of sedge. I think it's also known as the yellow nut sedge or something like that. But it produces small tubers. I'll see if I can get some out. Oh, I might need to just empty the whole thing. They do like it moist, so this hot weather we had this year might not have been as one. It looks, well, they keep hold of the soil, so it needs to be washed off, but that's the size of the tubers, and that's what grows to each plant. And they're absolutely gorgeous to eat. Here we have a fig tree. This is brown turkey. I got it as a stick, and it's grown quite nice despite dying 3 times on us. And there's other herbs in the bed: thyme, sage, curry plant, marjoram, Bit of, on the other side there's some oregano and some thyme there. Yeah, and well, it's quite good. Doing quite well there. Now, if you're wondering what these gallows are my bean supports. I like to have my beans dried on the plant, so that's why there's still quite a few beans on here. I don't eat too many fresh, so I let them dry as much as I can, but the weather's starting to turn, so these will have to come off and dry inside. And this has been working for the last couple of years really good. It still gives areas underneath where I can plant things up, so I've had chard and textural greens and a lot of greens under here, beetroots, whatever, and you know, they're growing well. I mean, last year underneath them I had dwarf French beans, and I got so many beans last year, it was unbelievable. I've still got jars and jars of dried beans. Next bed, this was the main crop potatoes, it's now green manure, so this will come out in the spring before it flowers and be chopped up and composted. And we come down to this bed here. This bed is going to be a perennial bed. Now this big root here is 9-star broccoli or 9-star cauliflower. Produces small cauliflower like heads, and you just keep cutting them off and it should grow about 3 to 4 years. Okay, here we've got leeks. These are regular leeks. They're a variety called Elephant, but these were sown in 2016. So 2016, 2017, 2018, and basically you cut them off at the base, and like the upree, they'll produce a bulb, leave that in, they'll split, you dig up some you want, leave some in, and or you can just take them straight off just above the soil. Don't get as much whites, but you get lots of leaf, and I like the leaf flavour. So, yeah. Next to them are the scorzonera. Now these were planted from offcuts, just offshoots, snapped off the main root and planted out. They were actually planted out, I think during the heat wave kind of thing, so they're grown quite well. And these will be producing nice long taproots that hopefully will come back every year like the parents and the grandparents before them. Next to that we've got a couple of twigs that are in fact the skivet. Again, these were done by offshoots. Just take off some of the shoots on the side, plant them up, and you get new plants. Again, this is the first year, so yeah, I think you harvest there about 2 years. I have a hawthorn hedge, which is great for things like robins and stuff. They love coming in here and hiding and pestering us to dig more. And underneath here I have comfrey. The idea is that hopefully the comfrey roots will provide a curtain eventually once they've grown strong. They were planted late last year, and they will then keep weeds from coming in from next year. Behind them there should be some wild garlic, so hopefully that will come through in the spring before the leaves black it all out and give us some early green leaf. In this bed I've got some sprouts, and this is where I've planted the potatoes for next year in the overwintering potato challenge. We now move on to the allium bed, the winter alliums. Now we've got, this is Provence garlic here, there's a couple of onions down the side, which I'm experimenting with. There's a mushroom down here. There's, looks like another experimental straggler for the onions. And here is some elephant garlic. A few strands of that. These are just regular, normal leeks. Just been done this year. No stupid things going on with them. And then we come down to potato onions. Birds are still digging them up. So I've got two different types of a reddish and a yellow one, I think. and then I've got some German shallots, and then moving on from there I have my Welsh onions. So this bed is where I took my second crop potatoes from. So the soil has much improved. I had to plant those potatoes using a crowbar. You know, sounds silly, but it was summer, it was a heat wave, soil was baked dry, I couldn't get into it, I needed a crowbar to make the holes. Over here I've got some more Welsh onions, these are red. There's a few there that aren't doing so good. Then I have along here some more garlic. These ones I think are something like that. And the other ones are a Russian name over here that I can't pronounce. I have that netting to go over the sprouts when I break it down and rebuild it. But the garlic's all coming through now. Yes, there's toilets at the end. I had rosemary in them, I had lavender in them. The lavender got transplanted over to the vines. These were here on the plot when I came, but they make planters, great for leaks. You could need a leak in your toilet. And that brings us onto this bed here. These are, what's the correct name? Asturian cabbage, Paul and Becky's Asturian cabbage. They're a loose leaf cabbage. This is the third year. They flowered this year, but they've come back again, and you know, they just give a nice tender loose leaf cabbage, not too strong flavoured, absolutely gorgeous. I've got a couple of cardoons going. The problem is this bed is going to be dug out next year, because underneath all these beds were weed control membrane. So as I've been going through, digging up beds, rebuilding them, putting the soil back in, taking the membrane out, everything. And it's this is the very last one, and it's got some of the most established plants in. I've got here a line of sorrel, lovely for soups, great lemony flavour, not the best time of year for it. Add some tomatoes in, got some nice tomatoes, but here's another one of the Asturian cabbage. This one's doing really well. I think it's because the shade from the trees in the hedge is doing the other ones in. Now if we come down here, got some more perennial. This weedy looking one is Good King Henry, which is also Lincolnshire spinach, I think. So you can tell that it's like a spinach. And then if we move on to these squares here, we have Babington leek. So these are a perennial leek. You can see the remnants of the flower stem here, and that flower stem gets bulbils on the top, so those bulbils will be planted and make new plants, which will end up going in to a permanent patch. These scraggly leeks here are one called sand leek, Allium scodopresum. These are more like, suppose you would compare like a scallion to an onion. These are like that to a chive, so they're like a spring onion version of a leek, or even a chive kind of leek. And here we have another sorrel. Now this sorrel is profusion, it doesn't flower, which means it won't bolt, it won't get bitter, you can eat it for longer periods, and again, great in soups. This is the tip area. This is the old greenhouses. The glass just went. I mean, I'm still scraping up the glass from it. You know, there's loads in there to help us out, getting the courage to go in there and clear it out. But this is not really usable as a greenhouse, but it will become a support for kiwi fruit. And over here, now I mentioned in the last video Upri. This is a permanent patch of Upri that I have here. So I've always got some to dig up and replant and thin out. So these can be thinned out as leeks, or they'll just be left to grow and give me some brood balls for next year. There's a few more Babington leeks here. And I think this leek here, and maybe those growing up next to it, are actually some more of the vine leeks that I transplanted earlier. So you can see they're really productive, loads and loads of offspring from them. And if we move down to this big sprawling mass of greenery here, this is Tortondale kale. Now if we look underneath here, you'll see a couple of leeks. These were planted in 2015, and if it wasn't for the fact that they're being smothered by kale, would have been really good. I've got some Scots lovage here. It tastes the same as normal lovage, except it's dwarf rather than a massive tall thing. And over here we have, you can see the flower heads from the elephant garlic that I've got naturalising here, and some of them are coming back up again. And then over here we have Dorbenton's kale. Come back, there's bronze fennel, lovely aniseed flavour, and near it is chervil, again lovely aniseed flavour. Then died back at the back I have some crowns of rhubarb. Always end up with far too much rhubarb. If we look onto the other side, there's a bathtub. Now I put Jerusalem artichokes into there because I don't want the invasive nature of them, but unfortunately this year I haven't been able to water them too well, and they just didn't do too much. Hopefully they'll be back next year, and I'm going to try and sort out something with the watering. I might even have to put them into a permanent bed, you never know. Can I eat that much? We'll see. Okay, now we're coming into this area here. Now down the bottom here we have a small gooseberry plant, and that was just grown from a stick that got trod into the ground, which must have dropped when I pruned it. Then we have, I think this is a red currant. Again, the sticks were just poked into the ground and left to grow. Then we have two more black currants. Now I mentioned in the jungle that I was going to pull them out because I had too many, and then we discovered the two drinks and I planted more. So obviously I like those drinks. We've got some hostas in the back that have died back now. And come here, this is a dwarf patio mulberry. Now it's not a black mulberry, it's a hybrid, so no idea what it tastes like, probably sweet and insipid. We'll move up. We've got a quince. Something throwing things from the tree, probably a parrot. Anyway, we've got a quince, and then we have a medlar. Now the interesting about this medlar is it had two fruit on them the other day, and it looks like the squirrels have got them. So I'm never going to know when they're ready. We now have a goji. This had some lovely little flowers on, but no fruit. And then finally we have a Saskatoon, which will be rather interesting to see how that grows. Serviceberry. Along the back fence, you probably can't see it, I've got blackberry and also tayberry. Okay, so that's been the new territories. Thanks for watching. Okay, so that's been the new territories. Thanks for watching, and hope you come back again. See you later.